So the first question is, what does diversity mean to you?
Well, I guess in just like the simplest terms of the word, diversity is just like what makes people different, their identifying features, and like how they're distinct from each other.
Yeah. I think there's the context of like an academic setting. Diversity has to do with different backgrounds and different thought processes that lead you to kind of address an issue or address a content of a conversation in a different way. And so I think diversity can obviously mean a lot of things, but in terms of like when we talk about it in Georgetown, I think it's in the context of an intellectual and academic community. So a lot of that has to be like taken into that context as well. So I'd agree. I think different backgrounds kind of covers that a lot.
Different perspectives.
Okay, so how much exposure to others of different racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds did you have before coming to Georgetown?
So I actually talk about this a lot. My high school was 30% white, which was different from most of the high schools in the area. It was different from the racial makeup of Seattle, the city I live in. And so I had a unique opportunity, an incredible opportunity to experience a lot of different cultures. It was something I really missed at Georgetown, and I expected with the international community, with kind of the cosmopolitan makeup of the city, that we'd have a lot more of that at this school, and it's been a bit of a disappointment to see how homogenous, especially certain areas of the school are, and there isn't a lot of integration, and the idea that that you should be able to be exposed to all these backgrounds, it seems like you really have to work hard for that, and even if you do work hard, a lot of times it's just not represented on Georgetown's campus. I don't think we represent a cross-section of the nation, let alone the world.
I had a really different experience. I'm from a town in Northwest Arkansas, which is a very, very homogenous area. Most of my friends in high school look the same as me, are from the same type of economic background as me. We all kind of like the same things. I mean, it was a very homogenous group. So I was really excited about coming to DC for the, like you said, like very different culture, very diverse culture that DC has to offer that just really isn't present in Arkansas. And I think that I would agree that Georgetown itself has been disappointing in that respect, but for me it's been really eye-opening to live in DC instead of in my small town in Arkansas, where it's night and day, honestly, difference in how many different cultures I've been exposed to since coming to college, just based on the city.
Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for this group to pass. Okay. So, as I'm sure you guys know, one of Georgetown's Jesuit tenets is community and diversity. So do you think Georgetown lives up to this principle? If so, how, why, or why not?
I think something about being a part of a Jesuit institution is this self-examination. I mean, we talk about having to continually examine our ability to live up to our values and our ability to express them in daily life, and I think that part of that means that we're never really living up to them completely. I don't think we've ever fulfilled values. They wouldn't be that. They're not a checklist. So I think there is this sense of bothered excellence where you have to continue kind of reevaluating and inquiring as to how we can continue to work up to these values. Again, I'm more disappointed in that aspect of Georgetown's fulfillment of the Jesuit values than in some of the other values, which I do think scholarship, academic excellence. There's actually 9 Jesuit values, which I didn't know about. I learned them this year as a senior. But I mean, we hear about Cura Personalis, we hear about men and women for others, and I think those are certainly more explored and better represented in the Georgetown community as well.
I think Georgetown has been taking a lot of steps in, that's honestly the last year and a half, to increase its diversity, and I think that's been really important. An important, not first step, but an important step in the right direction. But I would agree that I think that in general, this campus and the administration as a whole emphasizes other of its 9 that I also didn't know there were 9 Jesuit values. I'd say that I've been exposed to a lot of different sort of, I guess, geographic and religious diversity at Georgetown, which is important. Like I said earlier, I'm from a really homogenous area where basically everyone is white, upper middle class Protestant family, and so it's been really interesting to meet people from a bunch of different religious backgrounds, but I think there's definitely a long way to go before it reaches its full community and diversity tenet that it's striving for.
And then this is the last question. Okay, so have you fulfilled the diversity requirement? If so, did that academic class influence your understanding of lived experiences that differ from yours?
Yeah, so I am actually a senior, so I don't have the requirement, and she doesn't either. But I technically would have fulfilled it. I took a women and gender studies class, and that I think actually fulfills the requirement. But it's certainly, it was a self-selecting class. It was a specific group of people that I think kind of a lot of our ideas were just echoed in the classroom. It was before the diversity requirement was in place, so it was a group of maybe 18 empowered females. It was a really incredible class. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't, like I said, it's self-selected, so there was a lot of echoing of ideas, and I think I wouldn't be able to speak on how the diversity requirement, now that the whole school is supposedly required to take it, I think those classes are going to get a lot more mixed, and you're going to see a lot of different perspectives and hopefully have some really fruitful conversation as a result of that, instead of just having those classes kind of only cater to, or only, they don't cater to, but only attract a group of students that already maybe has that discussion in their daily lives.
I also didn't have the requirement, so I won't have that for graduation, but I took an Ignatius seminar my freshman fall called UNGU, a cultural encounter. It sounds really tricky to say that, but it was sort of a psych-based class. We talked a lot of just about like where we came from, our families, what we sort of expected for Georgetown, and like what we hoped that we would encounter here. And I think that we talked a lot about, not necessarily about diversity as the subject of conversation, but I think it was an underlying tone of a lot of what we talked about. There were international students there. There were kids from rural areas, kids from big cities, kids from a bunch of different backgrounds, and I'd say that was a really interesting mix of people, and there were only 10 of us in the room, so we actually got to talk to each other and write papers on our backgrounds and sort of had that nice community feel, I guess, which was great. So. Okay.